Good old Relient K started back in 1998, and this album, their first studio album, was released April 25th in good old 2000. I was only 5 years old when this album came out, but I must say it has left an impression on me, and I'm not upset, and I can still listen to this album to this day. When people ask me who my favorite band is, automatically, no matter what, Relient K is that band. They've always been the band that I've gravitated to in every situation, and so I wanted to start reviewing pretty much all of their records, and I wanted to start at the beginning, effectively, with their first studio album. Not too long ago, just a couple days in fact, it was Back to the Future Day. And one of the things that kind of sparked this whole review was the fact that the first track on this album is called Hello McFly and features many Back to the Future references. So with that being said, let's get started. So, like I previously mentioned, Relient K is my favorite band of all time. I didn't even get to see them in concert until last October, but when I finally got to see them live, they were way better live than I would have ever expected. They sound just like they do on their CDs. See, here I am with their drummer Dave. He was able to come back for the 10th anniversary, and then here I am with Thiessen. See, isn't it adorable? I'm going back to see them twice this December. It's going to be fantastic. They're never able to come to St. Louis where I am, but I'm going to be taking the trip down to Nashville and down to Birmingham, and it should be a fun ride. But I digress. So let's go back. Back to the future, hello McFly. Yeah, okay, that was bad, but the song definitely isn't. Back to the Future is a classic, and you can't really not enjoy it. And while the song necessarily isn't like a classic, it's only like 15 years old compared to the 30 that Back to the Future is, but it definitely has the same likable things that Back to the Future has. So it's definitely a great track. So you have to find yourself jamming out to this song wishing you were also Michael J. Fox. And so I know for a fact that I will be enjoying this song in another 15 years' time, just like I will be enjoying Back to the Future in 15 years' time. So for Hello McFly, I do enjoy the nice bass line in the beginning and has some really good driving guitars. So I would give this song a well-deserved and solid B.
What's up? This is Thiessen. You can go ahead and leave a message at the...
Hey, Thiessen, this is Toby. Look, man, a song about Marilyn Manson will never, ever be on a CD put out by Goatee Records. Period.
Sorry, I just had to include that. I just always thought it was really funny. Just a message from Toby Mac to Matt Thiessen on an answering machine talking about how Marilyn Manson will not be on a CD produced by Goatee Records. And yet, here it is at number 2 on the track list. So I guess Relient K won that, or maybe Toby Mac just didn't even know.
Because Marilyn Manson ain't my girlfriend.
So let's get right to it. Track number 2, My Girlfriend, or some of you might know it as Marilyn Manson Ain't My Girlfriend. This is actually the first song, I believe, that Relient K made a music video for, and you can definitely tell that it was pretty low budget, but you know what? You can't really complain when you have a music video. It's definitely one of the more enjoyable songs. Again, the one that has a music video, so it's gotten probably more airplay than most of the other songs on here. So if you've heard a song from this album, that's probably going to be the one. I don't find myself listening to it as often nowadays as I used to, but I still think it's pretty solid. I would probably give that one a B-. Relient K shows on track number 3, Wake Up Call, that they do care about their faith and they're willing to address it. The song's chorus talks about Jesus giving the main character a wake-up call. In the beginning has a situation where he's just lazy, he doesn't want to get up, and then he gets the news that he's been fired from his job. It certainly isn't a situation that I'd want to face, but it would definitely be a wake-up call, to say the least. Lyrically, it has a great message, in my opinion, and musically, it feels pretty raw. Granted, you're going to see that on a lot of bands' first albums, and that's not always a bad thing. This album isn't the typical Relient K sound because they haven't grown into that sound yet, but I still own 3 copies of this CD for a reason. Mostly because I'm obsessed. But it's still another solid B grade for Wake Up Call. Just wanted to touch quickly on Benediction. It's effectively just an outro to Wake Up Call, so there's not really too much different going on sound-wise. It's just effectively just repeating some lines of the chorus with a little bit of echo. It's pretty solid, but at the same time, it's effectively just an outro, so I'm not going to get too in-depth on that.
Like a child having nightmares.
Every time I hear the song When You're Around, which is number 5 on Relient K's self-titled album, I always think it's from a later album. It just seems to be more polished than most of the other songs on this record. And that doesn't mean it's necessarily my favorite song on the album, but again, it seems to be the most complete and more polished song on the album. So I have to give credit where credit is due, and so I would say that this song is probably a B+ or even an A-. I must say, I do have some fond memories trying to learn the guitar part to the 6th track, Softer to Me. Although, as time has passed, I tend to gravitate more towards the acoustic version of the song, which I will talk about in a later video. I still love this track. It was one of the first driving rock songs that I wanted to be able to play. Yet, even with that heavier guitar-driven sound, there was still a very intimate chorus with just some light picking on a cleaner sound. In that very intimate chorus talking about how somebody has hurt this character and how he or she wish it hadn't been so painful. Matt Thiessen is a lyrical genius, and it shows on this track in particular, so I will give this song an A-, with a potential of being even greater when the acoustic version is factored in.
Hey, Charles, check this out. This is fat.
New boy in the neighborhood lives downstairs and it's understood.
Charles in charge of our days and our nights. Charles in charge of our wrongs and our rights. Relient K is famous for the immense amount of pop culture references, and this song is no exception. Another song from this record that I remember trying to learn on guitar growing up. And it's a pretty simple tune, and one that I can find myself humming along to from time to time. But overall, it never really hit me like some of the other songs on this album. So for that, I can only really give this a C+. I'm sure for someone out there, the song Staples is maybe their favorite Relient K song. But for me, it just never stood out. I've listened to it over and over, hoping that I may have missed something, but I still just don't find myself really needing to listen to it. And I hope for you guys that's different. I hope you guys fall in love with it, but for me, it just wasn't fulfilling, I guess, so I've got to give it a C-. Alright, for this next song, I'm not going to give any spoiler to it. I'm not going to give a little intro to it. This song, it's only 30 seconds long, yet for whatever reason, at least for me, this 30-second song brings out more emotion than most 3-minute songs or even 4-minute songs can do. This song is fantastic. It's so simple. There is no spoken word. It's just instrumental, yet it is such a beautiful piece. Very simple, like I said, and in the time I've spent talking, you could have listened to it by now, so go check it out. It's called Anchorage. It is fantastic.
My 17 magazine tells me that you're in love.
Well, it's time to get some more pop culture references. Track number 10, which is titled 17 Magazine, is another one of those songs on here that is pretty polished, in my opinion. I actually had a rather long and even heated discussion on whether or not this was on this album. And boy, was I wrong. I could have sworn it was on one of their later albums just because, again, I thought it was a very polished song. And again, I do feel as if it's not necessarily my favorite because of that, just because it is polished. However, I do tend to gravitate towards this one more than I do when you're around. So I would say that this is probably another B plus to A minus type of song. Track 11, Balloon Ride. I would have to say this might be my favorite song from this album. It is pretty fantastic, honestly. It's another song on this record that isn't afraid to talk about faith. I have to applaud them for that. I enjoy talking about my faith as well. I'm not great at necessarily bringing it up, but when it is brought up, I have no problem talking about it. And so it's always nice to hear songs that aren't afraid to talk about it either. It just helps me figure out what I can say in public to kind of help other people along their walks of faith as well. I'm not going to get too in-depth about this song just because I intend to make a separate song review later on for this track. But I do want to say that the grade that I will give this song is definitely an A. Alright, coming near the end of the album, track number 12, Everything Will Be. This is one of those songs that I would always listen to if I was ever in one of those bad moods. The reason is because I feel like it has a fantastic message. The whole chorus just basically goes over and over saying, everything will be just fine, and everything will be just fine. We tend to overlook so many things today in society that any little thing could be like such a catastrophic event, when we should look at it as it doesn't really matter what's going to happen, because no matter what, we're all in God's hands and everything is going to be under control. And I wish we had a better outlook like that. So for that, mostly because of the message, I would give this a B+.
Got this thing for Nancy Drew. Her hair is blonde, her eyes are blue.
Track number 13, Nancy Drew. I always found this song to be pretty funny, honestly. Apparently, they always had a thing for Nancy Drew, and to my knowledge, I don't really think that besides the books, there were really many adaptations, so, I don't know what she looked like, but according to this song, she was a pretty good-looking girl. So, that's a big thing on most Relient K records. They talk about Jesus, and they talk about girls, and both of those seem pretty good to me, so I can't really complain about this song. Again, plenty of pop culture references with Nancy Drew. Definitely a song that I have fun with, but it's still not necessarily one of my favorite songs on the record, so I would probably give it a B-. And finally, the last song on Relient K's self-titled album is K-Car. Obviously talking about the Relient K car in which the band is named after, which was the guitarist Matt Hoopes' car. Overall, the song doesn't really jump out at me as anything too special other than basically an homage to the car which the band is named after. There's also a little outro a couple minutes after the song ends, and neither that nor the actual song really gave much of an impact towards me. So I'd probably give this a C+. Alright guys, so that was my review of Relient K's self-titled debut album. Like I said, I will be doing reviews of all of their studio albums, plus potentially some of their EPs or other works. And to top it all off, I'm also going to be taking requests. So if you have any albums that you would like me to review, or even some tracks that you would like me to review, feel free to leave those in the comments section, and I will be sure to get back to you and hopefully do those. Now, without further ado, my final grade for Relient K's self-titled debut album is a B-. And also, if I was to put this on a 100-point scale, I would probably give it a 78. Now, like I said, if you have any requests, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Let me know how you thought this review went. Let me know how you felt about this album and whether or not there were certain songs that hit you better than it might have hit me. So I hope everyone had a fantastic Back to the Future day, so I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of Hello McFly.